Hello, I'm Ted Burke, the pastor of Crestwood United Methodist Church, and today we are meditating on Station 12. Jesus dies on the cross. You know how powerful this particular station is. There's not a lot said from Jesus in the stations about what he said. We know from the Gospels, he said, "Father, forgive them." He tells the thief that he'll be with him in paradise. He says to his mother, "Your son," and son, "Your mother." He says, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" He says, "I thirst." Then it is finished. And finally, he says, "Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit." And then he dies. I've come here in the balcony of the sanctuary where you can see this cross right here behind me over my shoulder. It is a reminder to our congregation every Sunday of Jesus' death on the cross and why it's important to us. Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 5:21, "For our sake he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." Simply put, God made Christ to be sin, and in that he became an offering for sin, taking our place in receiving the death that sin deserves. Christ was able to do this because he was the righteous one, and in exchange we receive his righteousness, the very righteousness of God. Imagine, if you would, that you're in court for something that you have done. The jury files in, and after all the presentation, they bring their verdict, and it's guilty. The judge thanks them for their work and then says, "Is there anything else that needs to be said before sentencing?" Jesus in the courtroom stands and comes forward. He says, "I have something to say. Whatever this man or woman's sentencing is, I will carry it out for them. However long they need to be in jail, whatever their punishment is, I will take it." How do we respond to something like that? Do we celebrate? Do we cry? Drop our head in shame? There's no repaying Jesus for what he's done here. It's to accept his gift, his love. It's allow him to place his arms around us and hold us and tell us that he loves us and that we are worth it. This station, my daughter-in-law Leah sent some suggestions, and one of the things she mentioned was that for centuries this was predicted. In fact, in Isaiah chapter 53, written about 1,000 years before Jesus, here's what was said of him and the cross. "He was despised and rejected by others, a man of suffering and acquainted with infirmity. And as the one for whom others hid their faces, he was despised, and we held him of no account. Surely he has borne our infirmities and carried our diseases. Yet we accounted him stricken and struck down by God and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We've all turned our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. Like a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that before its shears is silent, so did not open his mouth." Jesus died, and he died for us.